Joe, we're live, sir.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was glad you sent me this little meme here. I love this. This
Yeah,
is
I thought
awesome.
it was kind of cool because you think about it, and oh, wow, what a difference a year makes. Uh, Not really, I guess, but sorta. And in perspective, how like because guy, if you looked at Bitcoin hits 40, if I saw that on Thanksgiving in 2018, I would have been like, wow, that's a giant move.
Yep.
We know where it's gone to. We know where it's going to go back to eventually, but it's just all about where you came into the market, and this is why you don't come in with your whole stack.
Yeah.
At 58, let's say,
Yep.
because you can't help yourself if it goes the wrong way.
Yep.
And so it's a very good hard lesson to learn. A lot of times, I see it in a lot of these other chats, but you just have to kind of keep it all relative and take those profits and keep that stack. So
I did a long thread today on all the people who are worried about paying rent today.
Really?
On Twitter. Yeah, I just decided, let me go off a little bit here. And so look, I made the points everybody already knows. It's not like I'm, like changing the world with this shit. But, basically I said, look, we've been at this a while. But if you sold here or at 42.4 when it bounced back up this morning, panic and fear is your enemy. The feeling of what if it never recovers, or how am I going to pay rent next month will dominate the cycle we're in. And then I say, you didn't react fast enough to sell when the dump started, and you never will. And so you waited for a bounce, and you and everybody else sold to recover something from the ruins of your financial life, right? Essentially, it's like, look, you see this thing plummeting past you. You're like, fuck, I just woke up and I'm down, 40% of my fucking money. And you're freaked out because this is the first time you've been here, right? Yeah. It's like you're just fuck. And so then you see it bounce a little bit. And that was that bounce this morning, right? We had that bounce up to like 42.4 and then the fucking dump because everybody was like, I got to get something back. I got to get something back. And what they didn't realize is they hadn't lost anything yet, right? This is fucking Bitcoin. Yeah. The second you sold at 42 is when you lost all of it, right? Yep. That's when you lost. You didn't lose until you sold. And so, I just went out and, I said, look, everybody wants to, in these things, we all do it. I used to do it when I fucked up doing this like 12 times prior to now, we all want to blame the big, mean institutional guys who are pushing the price down and manipulating the price and fucking with all of us and stealing our Bitcoin and blah, 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 blah. But really the only person to blame is ourselves, right? Because ultimately we make a decision whether or not we're going to ride this out and look at the history of what crypto has done, best performing asset in the last 11 years among anything that exists that you can buy in the world. And look at the history of it doing these dumps and recoveries and going higher, dumps, recoveries, higher, dumps, recoveries, higher and higher. So ultimately it's an emotional game, right? It's about being able to control your emotions, setting rules, having take profit targets, right? It's all the lessons that you learned long before I did because you were involved in this game long before I was, because it was lots of years ago. You've been at this for a long time.
That was back when you were repairing the fax machines, right?
Yeah, this is back when I was in diapers.
Yeah.
I'm just intimating that you're really old.
Oh, 39. Yeah, so 39 is really old. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, the point being, you learn these lessons, and the pain is what helps you learn the lessons. But at the end of the day, you got to set rules. I also went off about meditation because I tell everybody it's not about stress reduction. Meditation is about training your brain to ignore your thoughts and emotions. It will help you be a better trader and everything. Anyway, so bottom line is, look, go read my thread and retweet it, please. No, the bottom line is that there are lessons you will learn here, but we all warned you, don't bet the rent money, right? So if you're seeing this loss in value and you got to pay the rent and you're freaking out about how you're going to do that next month, and that's why you're selling, you put yourself in a bad position in the first place, right? Because you weren't betting with what you could afford to lose. I get it. You start to see you're making money in the bull market. It all looks exciting and happy and great. Bottom line is, if everything's in, you've put yourself in that position. So don't do that again. That's it.
Yeah, I kind of look at it. Yeah, I look at in that perspective the same way as I look at, say, gambling and other things, that this is a risk on, risk off type of activity. And while, gambling is much more immediate and, I guess has almost more limited upside than, say, crypto, you still have to think of it the same way. You know, take your profits.
Exactly.
Manage it. It's risk.
Yep.
So, the reason you're getting the yield is because of the risk. So manage the risk as best you can. But then also understand that for these things to move, like when something starts, everybody saying the name has money chasing it. Anybody saying that buzzword, Web3, cross layer, multi-chain, yield optimizing, blah, 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 blah. It draws it in. It's like that when .com was going and the CNBC was talking about this new tech company in Texas somewhere that was called Zapatos.com.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Do you remember this one? And everybody was also super excited. Oh, my God. Wow. And what is it? It's a fucking shoe store in a strip mall that put .com on the end of the name and went and raised $420 million, which was, big money back then. I mean, nowadays, it's just chump change for everybody, but it was real money. So I guess my point is that money chases into things. And so we're at this point now where there's been a lot of, of that kind of activity. There's also been a lot of really high quality stuff. So now you're going to see the market start segmenting into, we kind of talk about, the DeFi 10 or whatever, which is interesting now because DeFi in my mind now is almost everything in the market.
Right. It's hard for me to even just look at a fucking centralized exchange for trading now.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And then you see all these other things about, just in other aspects of society, decentralization. A lot of talk about, voting rights and things like that. So to me, I think that this is all the right trend and across many aspects of society. And now it's just a matter of, trying to figure out two things. One, what are going to be kind of the blue chip plays and what are the more high risky early stage plays? And then figuring out more ways to evaluate those like we do for other, regular tech type stuff. And using that to pick winners. But right now, as far as the yields and all of that, again, it reminds me of even now, like the way it was in .com days. And I had a client that was doing I think they were doing the pets.com dog food counter or whatever. Okay. So, it's like I don't know, some way to calculate how much dog food you're going to order. And I remember I was sitting there looking at this and I'm like, okay, Petco, pets.com, PetSmart, Pets R Us probably, and a bunch of other shit out there. There was like 5 companies competing
for no customers.
Yeah.
Because nobody even had the fucking knew how to buy anything online.
Yeah, to ship a 40-pound bag of dog food.
Well, what's the story? I mean, the interesting story was I listened to an interview with the babies diapers.com guys, right? They were buying shit at Costco at retail to fill the fucking orders and selling at a loss, right? I mean, it's like fucking nuts. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, but you're right. So, these models get going and, we sort of talk about it. We joke about the Theranos. We joke about the Tesla trucky thing. It wasn't Tesla, Nikola.
Yeah, Nikola.
And, but they do this shit all the time. I mean, guys that were doing, remember, I think it was Kaza. What was the one that was the 24-hour? It was kind of like, hey, you want a pint of ice cream? Just go to the website and
Well, now that's back. GoPuff is blowing up, man, doing like big money. But I just read a report.
GoPuff.
GoPuff. It's like 15 15-minute deliveries of that ice cream.
Oh,
and Uber is now competing with them, and Uber's smart though. So GoPuff is buying all product for their own warehouses. Uber is partnering with Walgreens. So they just are doing the shopper thing, but they're doing the 15 to 30-minute delivery of whatever goods you want, right? So it's the spur of the moment. Hey, I need some ice cream. I need a microwave dinner, whatever. And so they're utilizing Walgreens, which are on every fucking corner in America now. I mean, I don't know about you, but I got 12 around me.
Well, it's the decentralized healthcare. It's the healthcare getting pushed out of the doctor's office to there, which is, or out of the emergency room to there. But, I just wanted to jump real quick on what you said. It's kind of interesting. So now Uber's partnering up with Walgreens, because I do Uber Eats sometimes, and I do, Uber delivery through Walgreens of, snacks or something. Now it seems like, okay, so, I could be delivering tests, COVID tests, let's say, or things that, because you really don't want the person who thinks they might have been exposed to COVID in the fucking Walgreens. I'm sorry.
Well, they're doing drive-through now. I will say that. They're pushing everybody to drive through.
I was with my daughter's mom set up her booster, and it was like, of course, 6 relatives of hers there, and another mob of people here by the pharmacy counter, and then here's, most people have masks on, but there's actually people standing in there without masks on, at the pharmacy counter in a Walgreens, or maybe it was a CVS, I can't remember, one or the other, to get a friggin' booster.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, that's where you catch it.
Yeah.
You don't catch
very
that
possible
playing hoops and outdoors with your buddies. Or football or golf or anything.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think we've lost track of our thread though.
Yeah. So the point is that where I'm getting at with the Uber thing is that it just expands their reach further.
Yep.
But I'll let you pick it up from there, because I think you brought the point forward at the beginning.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the bottom line is your point was valid. We are so early, right? I think that's where you were going, right? And the institutional guys are coming in. I just told you before the call, I do these calls where I've worked with these firms for years in tech and startups and everything else. There are these firms that curate experts in particular topics, right? So my expertise has been web technologies, startups, strategy, marketing, et cetera, right? Web 2.0 stuff, and now crypto. Well, crypto's been in my profile for a long time. But what they do is they connect you up with institutional investors who want to do research on a given topic. And so what'll happen is they'll say, hey, do you your skills match up with what this investor is looking for or what this enterprise is looking for? They're doing research in this arena. You have expertise. Do your skills match up? Yes, great, cool. Let's get on a call. They get you on a call. They pay you, a couple $100 for an hour. So I was telling you earlier that I have not had a call about crypto or blockchain. It's been over a year. It's probably been 2-3 years, right? This week, three calls this week. Institutional investors wanting to do. I haven't had 3 calls yet. I've had 3 inquiries about projects. Three institutional investors wanting to understand Web3, NFTs, metaverse, crypto, etc. So, that's not a data science level piece of data, but it's certainly, I think, is indicative of what's coming. And what we were talking about earlier is, look, this back to the main point of what we were talking about with you guys is this. Look at these ups and downs in Bitcoin. We got a long way to go. And if these institutional folks are coming in and they're really starting to check out DeFi, they're really starting to try to get an understanding on DeFi. They're not just asking me about Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're asking about Web3. They're asking about DeFi. If they're starting to ask about that, that's where they're coming next. They're starting to say, hey, holy shit, I gotta have a piece of this, right? And so even without that, Bitcoin has these downs and ups, man. I just, for me personally, I'm riding them out. So.
Well, I think to me, I always look back at my history on it, and how I've felt about it at different times. When I felt like, I think it was Thanksgiving 2018 when, I was already teetering on the edge for like 5 months in oh shit, did I get into this too early concept, and didn't have a lot of dry powder to DCA into stuff. And, that's painful. And, and I can remember then, I think it was Thanksgiving Day or right around Thanksgiving, when it went from like 7 to 3 or something like that. 7,000 of BTC to 3,000. Now, ETH at this point, guys, was I think in the 170 range to something. I mean, so these numbers have gotten absurdly low, but back then I was always worried about it going to zero. And now, because of this 2021 activity with all the institutions and the hedgies and ETFs and everything else, I don't think it can go to zero anymore.
No,
I think
we're past that for me.
There's way too much money in there that will make money on a dip, but then shorting it on the way down, even, while still maintaining their core holdings. And then when it hits a certain range, they're going to buy back in, but they're not buying and selling their core holdings right now.
Right.
They're looking more of that for the long game. They're using the volatility to acquire more or to generate fees from options instead of selling core. So I don't have that fear anymore like I used to. And, I try to make sure I have powder dry. And, to take profits, sometimes you feel like it's a little too early, but you still take the profits anyhow, because, if you miss that cycle, you want to have the dry powder. Yep. Because, you're not going to be getting any if the price is down. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
But, still, that's just from experience, having lived through it. I mean, if some of the stuff I see in some of these chats, just jumped into this, threw 20 grand in, and now it's worth $4. And I'm like, I don't even respond. But, my thing, anybody saying that, I'm like, head on back to Robinhood, dude, because this isn't the way to play it here.
Exactly.
There's just too much volatility.
Absolutely.
And the volatility works as your friend.
Yep.
So, to me, I think it's just gone too far. And we might have sideways stuff. We might have stuff, everybody waiting to see what's going to happen with the bigger market. Things in that area, health things, but I think it just has to be once something opens up the market to more users. Because again, we're a very small part of everything. When you look at, I think I saw global debt or the global GDP was like 130 trillion, I think, or is. And what's crypto? Like 2 trillion right now total.
Right.
So, you start thinking, wow, all right. So as that takes over, half the market, which it conceivably could, because it is the more efficient way to move capital around. And it's actually the more auditable way and the more transparent way. It's everything that, the opposite of what everybody tells you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it should, you would think that both the regulator types and, the hardcore business dudes would be in the same direction on this one. So to me, I think that's what also keeps me from thinking it goes to zero. And I just don't see what else comes after it. Digital money. I mean, it's all the same thing at this point.
This thing is out. It's done. We're in, and the data tells us, when you look at the chart, that we're going nowhere, right? That this is the best performing asset in the history of the last 11 years. There is way too much development happening, way too much infrastructure, way too much institutional money in. We're never getting close to zero, right? The only way we're getting close to zero, from my perspective, not financial advice, the only way we're getting close to zero is the entire world economy is collapsing. And that actually may not cause it to go to zero. That may actually cause it to explode. Yeah. So for me, it's a matter of like maintaining control, keeping things in perspective, zooming out on your friggin' charts, and understanding we've been here before, over and over. And Joe, in the last 3-4 years, we've been through this. Well, just last year, 1, 2, This is the third one in December for last year. Year prior to that, March, the entire world was collapsing. March 13th, right?
Yeah.
COVID, boom. The entire world is collapsing. It's dark. It's doomsday. Boom, boom, boom. Guess where we were 2 months ago, right? So anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. It's, it's something that, again, all the macro trends say it makes sense. I mean, for speeding up, you think about the supply chain problems and stuff like that. It's all just about, as we migrated from inventories, warehouse or rooms full of goods at stores, let's say, to, a just-in-time inventory system where they're sort of at the Walmart, let's say, they ideally want, the vendor stocking the item on the shelf the minute after you're taking the last one off the shelf. So they optimize that velocity of goods to minimize or eliminate inventory carry costs, which I guess at one point, a lot of times it was like 10, 12, 14% of a business's, cost structure was to inventory. Now it's like virtually nothing because nobody carries inventory. It's all the inventory's in the truck or wherever. So, if you think about it, the supply chain issues are all about restarting that system that was running like lumberjacks on logs kind of thing, spinning. And with capital, it should be the same way. It just makes sense. It shouldn't be, somebody in it looks like I lost Brad. It shouldn't be someone in a room with a, pile of cash and you have to guess what everybody has. And to get it takes days or weeks. It should be something where you can get those assets relatively quickly. And, to me, that's what crypto does, whether it's lending against assets instantly, or it's, flash loan lending, that's even, obviously much, much more faster. The lack of underwriting, all these things that I think are disruptive to sort of traditional financial institutions. But in the end, when they finally adopt this stuff, they'll realize how much more money they can make off it. So all of that is going in the right direction. I guess if you're in already and you came in December, let's say, you just got to stick it out at this point. If you came in last year, early 21, you're probably doing okay. It's my guess. If you came in any time in the last 5 years, if you've been, doing any sense at all of risk management, you should be doing fine. So I don't know anything that would be really hitting hard would be, short-term type stuff. And then that's where I would be, looking as to what you should be DCAing or cost averaging into. Oh, there he is.
Dude, fucking Firefox.
Yeah, I swear you've always got a problem over
I've
there.
got like nothing but problems for the last 3 weeks. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
That's
I'm
because
so annoyed.
All your tech analysts are back in school, so they can't run your platforms. But
I'm the tech guy.
Yeah,
I'm the guy that everybody calls.
Oh yeah. But your kids don't. You end up calling your kids.
Are you kidding me? The kids call me for everything. What the fuck? Yeah, that's the problem. They're spoiled. Okay.
So I was just when you couldn't. I don't know if you could hear me or not, but I was just saying that you take everything that we've seen in the last 5 years of looking at down markets and feeling what happens in those, and then you take all the things with say the inventory supply chain issue. It's all about speed of goods. It's speed of transactions. It's they moved to just-in-time inventory systems so they wouldn't have to pay the 12% of inventory carrying costs.
Yep.
So, but when you get the machine so sped up to where it's going that optimally running and anything disrupts, it's very hard to restart those things in ways that, of course, so you restart it. And one person wants the 12,000 pair of Nike sneakers. And the other person says, dude, I need those sneakers. And then the seller's like, oh, okay. And then the one person says, I'll give you $2 more per pair. So, there's your inflation.
Yep.
And, once it gets going, then that should, that part of it should adjust. But what I'm getting at is with the crypto itself, you can see how it's enabling these other things, a la like the inventory carrying cost reduction.
Right.
It allows other things around capital. And so it's a natural progression. And as soon as the banks really figure out how much money they're going to make off of this, then you're going to see it explode. They're still in the, is this disrupting us? Is this taking my money or is this giving me money mode?
Yeah.
And they haven't quite figured that out. But
Both.
But everything in this, I say, just stay the course right now.
Both. Everything, it's taking and giving. If they play it right, they can take. But if they don't, they're fucked. Speaking of innovation, so fucking Andre Cronje, I don't know when the guy sleeps because it's incredible. So this morning he tweeted out about multi-chain. Multi-chain used to be called AnySwap, right? Yep. And that's what I use for almost all my bridging. Yep. And you and I just had a conversation yesterday about how awesome their model is, right? Because they're taking 0.1% of every bridge that they do of tokens, right? So you transfer $20,000 worth of Phantom to FTM to, well, whatever. You transfer USDC from Phantom to Binance Smart Chain. They're taking 0.1% of whatever you're transferring, right? And you pay fees. But they've made it easy and simple. And what I said to you yesterday was, number one, that's a really awesome model, right? If you're the bridge. But number two, the real ultimate here is making it seamless between the chains, right? So number one, embedding it into swaps and applications so that I can go cross-chain without even thinking about the fact that I'm going cross-chain. We've been talking about this for months, right? So this morning, Andre Cronje tweets out that for a year, he's been working with the multi-chain team to build smart contracts to allow them to take the first step towards that. And the first step towards that, it hasn't launched yet, but the first step towards that, I assume, is coming pretty soon because it was from a tweet from the CEO of Multichain, who, by the way, I reached out to try to get him on Mission DeFi, is they're going to let you in their interface swap from, say, USDC on Matic to BNB on BSC, right? Like right now, I can only choose USDC, right? I can only transfer USDC to USDC. This makes me so excited about what's coming because to me, this is like the first level holy grail of what DeFi needs to become, which is completely seamless cross-chain. I don't give a shit what blockchain I'm on unless it relates to fees or speed, right? And so the idea is look, if you take this and the composability of a platform like multi-chain, now the swap sites, the yield farming, what we've been talking about for managing We're Forked Club, right? Being able to automate trades across the chains and not be the human being involved, right? Like we're having to launch this with us doing this manually. But ultimately, we want to be able to say, here's the parameters, here's the rules, go do it. And be able to move money from here to there cross chain and not worry about it and get the tokens and then stake them. So to me, this is very exciting. You can check Andre Cronje's profile on Twitter. He tweeted about it. And then Zhao Zhu, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, from Multichain also tweeted about it. And that was the retweet. And evidently, on the back end, 99% of the transfers are going to be done with wMEMO. So Daniel Sesta is all excited because wMEMO is going to be the primary vehicle for the transfers because wMEMO is now on all chains. So the next thing that they hinted at in the tweets is Danielle is now supposedly going to be running strategy for Sushi. Sushi is has permeated the most chains of any other swap lending platform. So guess what the next step is, right? Integrate multi-chain into Sushi Swap. Sushi Swap now becomes a real de facto player, a cross-chain, seamless integrations, seamless swapping cross-chain. So to me, that makes me start thinking about Sushi Token. It makes me start thinking about Phantom and wMEMO and all of the other projects that Danielle's involved with, because I guarantee you, the first priorities are going to be for him, Sushi, Abracadabra, Spell, wMEMO, Wonderland, wMEMO, Time, right? Those are the things that are going to get like priority in all the other things you can do with it. Because now you think about it, you think, okay, now that I have cross-chain capability, can I stake over here and lend over there? Can I yield farm here and take those tokens automatically out and buy more ohm over here on mainnet? I mean, it opens up the doors to a lot of possibilities once this can be automated on the back end. So that to me is pretty exciting.
One, it's one of the things I have noticed. I was doing an extraction today of, pulling some money out of Avalanche and through using the AnySwap bridge, through Spooky Swap. It's just so much faster. And so then, of course, I get back to Polygon with everything, and to get to layer 1, it's $220 or something like that.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? But I think that this is something that, because you really, it's like electricity or plumbing.
Right.
We don't really care to see where the pipes are and all of that. We just want it to work. It's like Wi-Fi, it's any of this. And so to me, to be able to sit there and then be able to trade or liquidity farm maybe across multiple pools of the same tokens on different chains, different yields, different strategies, whatever, that's pretty attractive. I think what I'm trying to get next, we talked about this a few months ago, the in between the layer ones strategy. And, so now how do all the layer ones differentiate and compete with the others? I mean, we've been talking about speed, obviously, and cost.
Well, speed and fees right now, right?
Yeah.
And that's why sorry, go ahead.
No, so that's what it's been since February.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things on that. I just listened to Vitalik on Bankless talking about the end game. Like we're months away from the first merge, and then after the merge, all the other steps. It's exciting, but it's not going to dramatically reduce fees, and there's still going to be constraints, and there's still storage constraints, and they're doing some really cool shit. Don't get me wrong. I think they're doing everything right, taking their time. This is the foundations of all DeFi. That's one. The other thing I will say is this. I haven't taken a very deep technical dive into it, but Andre Cronje, again, wrote the consensus mechanism for Phantom. And from what I understand, from what I've read, and from my interview with Simone at Phantom, that consensus mechanism, number one, you get normal standard. If you bring over, your EVM compatible DApp to Phantom, it'll work, it'll run, and it gets the speed that Phantom is today. But the consensus mechanism and their new version coming out will have a dramatic impact on EVM compatible smart contracts on Phantom. There will be a dramatic impact on performance, and then there will be the ability for developers to allow their smart contract to provision functionality within the consensus algorithm and within the blockchain that makes it even faster and more efficient. So you'll be able to keep your existing code that you can deploy on Ethereum or deploy on Polygon or whatever, but when you deploy it to Phantom, it'll perform faster and cheaper than it does elsewhere. The other thing about, I'm sounding like such a Phantom fanboy. I like Avalanche, I like Phantom, I like Polygon. Don't get me wrong. But
don't forget about Apple. You like Apple too.
Don't just stop. The other thing about Phantom is there is another thing about Phantom, and now Joe made me lose it. It's Joe's fault, everybody, that I've lost my train of thought.
The speed and scalability thing, how it can. There was something else you were talking up the other day that you think from a scaling standpoint.
Oh, scaling. Yeah. So Andre and a couple of other folks on that team are claiming that it won't have the congestion issue because of the way the consensus mechanism is written. I haven't climbed in deeply enough to the tech to understand or even verify if that's true. And while I have a lot of technical expertise, I probably don't have enough to make that judgment, but I do want to climb into it more. My point being, we've read all of these analyses, and you and I have talked about the fact that Phantom is probably undervalued right now relative to TVL, number of dApps, everything else, just hard numbers, right? Well, if you take into, and one more thing. So I had some news last night that I am not permitted to disclose, sadly. But a major project, a major Ethereum mainnet project that we have been involved with in the past, is doing its first cross-chain move. And its first cross-chain move is onto Phantom. And it is a project that has appeal in the real world and to DeFi folks. But unfortunately, I'm not permitted to give any more details on that alpha as yet. I'm hoping I will be able to do that soon. That said, their reasoning for doing that were a lot of the things we're talking about right now, right? That this network. So here's my thing. You got this network that's undervalued. People are moving things to it. Major players in the space that we respect, Danielle, Andre, some others, are putting a lot of effort there. Even Olympus DAO is as well. To me, I'm really seriously considering a big bet on Phantom now, and Phantom projects, because I feel like if you're the underlying here, you're this layer one that's down here on the chain, right? Up here's Ethereum and Volume, and down here's a Phantom, and there's Avalanche and Polygon and BSC or whatever. But you have all of this advantage technically, fee-wise, speed, and you have major projects moving to you. I feel like if you're already undervalued, you have a real opportunity. So that's my own personal. That is not financial advice, but I'm becoming more of a Phantom fanboy every day. And then I put in the things that you and I've talked about before, the intangibles. Like, their community is rock fucking solid. Like, that is a hardcore group of community members, building, excited, working hard at it. Andre and Danielle are doing another project. Other projects we know of are moving to Phantom, not moving, launching as well on Phantom. So anyway, I wasn't planning on getting on that tangent today, but no.
But you just love Phantom, I know.
I do, man.
Yeah.
I'm more and more sold on it, and I want to spend more time on it.
No, well, look, there's only, from my perspective, the ones that I feel like we don't really get a lot of exposure to are Solana and Terra. And, I honestly don't know much about them. I looked a little bit at Kronos, but just a tiny bit, and moved on. To me, the only ones I really do anything on right now, not counting Ethereum, of course, it's, Polygon, Phantom, and Avalanche.
Yeah.
But the ones I see coming are the other layer twos on Ethereum, particularly Arbitrum. And then some of these other ones like Cosmos, which is up, lots of talk. What was this? Cosmo and Harmony
coming back
like
from the dead.
Last day or two have been up. So again, that's the same concept though.
Oh yeah, you sent me that article. Hold on, let's look at that.
We're talking about multi-chain again, and I happen to look at my syphilis chain. That's been going up. That's up like 45%.
I forgot about fucking syphilis chain.
Yeah. So
what the fuck was that again? What the fuck was that?
EROWAN.
Wait a minute.
EROWAN is the token.
Erowon.
But it was like F chain or F something.
Sif chain.
So I started thinking, when we talked about all the AnySwap stuff, that and multi-chain and Sushi Swap, that kind of got a similar situation going on here with just on Cosmos, with what's it, Osmosis, I think, Osmosis might be an Arbitrum side play there, but there's not a lot on, like, the Cosmos people weren't like all developing platforms to go from one chain to the other, because Cosmos was doing that.
Right.
So they're already like multi-chain.
Yeah.
Just by being on Cosmos.
Yeah.
And then I read something else that, and I think it's this article, that they're mostly Cosmos and Harmony, or there was something in here about Terra, and that it was written in one of these same languages. Oh, where is that? Yeah, Terra and Binance Smart Chain are built using the Cosmos software developer kit, which is something I did not know.
I did not either. That's interesting. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and Cosmos is all about, I haven't looked at Cosmos at all. Cosmos is cross-chain stuff, right? That's their entire thing. They want to be the hub of cross-chain.
Yeah, they're like it's the Atom. Atom is a token.
Yeah.
But they've been talking about this
45% in last 7 days. That's interesting.
So I think this might be the one that everybody's looking at, like a little Solana style run right now, or an Avalanche style run. But what I found the most intriguing thing was that with BSC and Terra, since I don't do a lot on BSC, I do zero on Terra, that I see maybe there's this coalescing strategy going where it's, going to be across, you could see a natural alignment there of Terra, Cosmos, and Binance Smart Chain just out of the gate, since they're all built with the Cosmos software developer kit. And then you think then, so somebody then, then Sif Chain, let's say, has, already has a way to look at liquidity on all the chains at once, particularly those that are built on the Cosmos developer kit. So I'm wondering what comes next is where I'm really riffing here on.
Yeah, so Syphilis Chain is not allowing US.
Oh, I know. Nobody does. It makes you wonder how all us Americans do it.
Look at Joe, like flexing his tech savvy. Like, I know how to VPN. Look at me.
Yeah, and that wasn't even
I'm
why.
not a Luddite.
I think I got into the VPNs because of the travel, international travel. Wanted to.
Yeah, you didn't want your porn on the hotel bill.
Exactly. Or the the liquor tab. Whatever.
This actually, I mean, they're claiming. I'm going to load up the VPN and look at this later today because they're claiming they got 10 chains on their decks at Sif Chain.
No, I think it's interesting because,
I just like to. Can I buy them a font?
Oh, you don't like that kind of Cinderella looking thing?
I mean, I don't know what the. It's like, what the fuck? Who is control of brand identity at Sif Chain? First of all, who didn't think of what Sif Chain sounded like? And second of all, I mean, whatever.
A Scandinavian person who doesn't speak English every day. Yeah. Doesn't know about
Has not heard the term syphilis. Isn't that a medical term? Not a language.
Yeah. Syphilis.
Have they looked at crypto Twitter like twice to find out what's going to happen to you if you have a name that sounds like fucking syphilis? Seriously?
Yeah, you're going to be pretty much just destroyed. The idea is you want the 14-year-old boys to be after you. You don't want them to be like, oh my God.
Well, it's anyway. Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about internet users. You know how there's a lot of teenage dudes out there.
Yeah. On a quick note, we have a new website for the shows up. I just used a pod hosting company that does a basic website, but it's much better to navigate than what we had before. So we're getting there. We got more work to do, but I was up at 1 a.m. doing this shit, and I'm like, all right, time to fucking go to bed. It's good enough for now. So we'll keep building on it, but at least it's easier to get to it. There's also a YouTube feed of all of our videos there as well. So every show video gets automatically fed in here. So that's good. Twitter feed comes in, the whole bit. So it's pretty good. People can reach out to us, contact us, and we'll be able to add merch to this, Joe. So
yeah, no, we need the merch.
I got people asking for shirts. So gonna have to do something. I mean,
maybe we could combine it.
Did you see my shirts yesterday? My designs? Even though I'm not a designer?
I didn't see the new ones. I ordered a couple from you.
No, you did not.
Yeah, I did. I said XL and a medium.
Oh, no, not those. Yeah. I have. Did we order those? I think we did order them. I think I told my wife to order them. No, I was fucking around with designs for We're Forked shirts yesterday. But somebody else messaged me today and said I need a DeFi Lunch shirt. So I got to get more of those.
You know what we should do though? Now we NFT them. And we basically make them part of our El Salvadoran real estate development project.
Oh, so you get a piece of the pie?
Yeah, you get a piece of the. Maybe we fractionalize.
Oh, Joe, that's racy, man.
What we do is, be careful. We don't want to cross the line here on language.
So there's one of mine. See, look at that, nice.
I like it.
Get forked.
Should the fist be like pointed up, or I like that because it's kind of like a punch.
You're not gonna make a joke about fisting here, are you?
No, I wasn't. I'm looking at that. I was thinking about.
Dude, I didn't custom draw the fucking thing. It's a piece of clip art that had a fork in it. You know how hard it would be to find a fucking fist with a fork in it? Seriously, dude.
You got a camera?
You think I sat here and sketched it out? Ooh, let me.
You can take a picture of it.
Up your fist for me.
Here, take a picture of it. Here, I'm ready. Take a picture.
Oh, fuck. I have no creative skills, dude. I can play the piano like an 8-year-old. That's about it.
You know, my daughter sent me this video that she said that I guess Apple made of just some pictures of me that were in the camera, and it's like friggin' good. And it picks like ones where I'm making a funny face at the beginning, and then there's some joking in there. It assembles all these shots together in pretty scary ways.
Yeah, they do.
And she says, I didn't make it. Apple just made that on its own and sent it to me. And I'm like, and they go, no, they took it from the folder, which was like pictures with father or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they made a video, and I was like, holy shit. So nowadays you don't have to be that smart creative wise. You just have to basically, I guess, say it.
So yesterday I keep picking these little fights with the bankless guys. So
you are bored, man. You are bored.
Oh, please. I'm so far from bored. So yesterday, the whole blow up 2 days ago happens with Danielle from fucking Abracadabra, right? And the guys at Bankless are like, I don't know who the fuck you are, when he said he wanted to come on the show, right? And so this outrage from the thousands, like literally thousands and thousands of people who are invested in these projects comes out full force against the Bankless guys. And they're like, so today they're like, oh, sorry, I've learned a lot about Daniel. He's a great guy. We're gonna interview him, right? So that's how I interacted with Danielle, though, because I messaged Danielle and I'm like, dude, got a nice interview show over here, thoughtful, no maximalism. We're not ETH maximalists over here. Come on over. So he wants to do an interview, so we'll get that going. Anyway, so then after that, fucking on the same day that the guys at Bankless say they don't know who the hell he is or what his projects are, they launch in cooperation with Index Co-op, which is the index tokens, right? They're like tokens where it's like a multiples of different tokens put into one token. So it's like an index fund, right? They launch with fucking Index Co-op a token with Danielle's spell token in the fucking index. 8 tokens in the index. One of them is spell. These guys don't know who the fuck he is. So I post, wait, Bankless launches an index token with spell in it, but Hoffman doesn't know who Daniel Sesta is. Cringe. So one of the guys from Index Co-op goes, to be perfectly clear, I shouldn't do a voice like that. That's not nice.
No, it is good. It's a talk show. So
to be perfectly clear, David and Ryan are not involved in the strategy for the Bankless index tokens. And so I tongue-in-cheek, smartass, right? In fairness, I've been informed that David and Ryan are not involved in determining the strategy for the Bankless GMI token, right? Index. And I'm like, I'm making the joke that these fucking guys are just slapping their brand on fucking anything. And they all come in and like my tweet.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank you for being so respectful.
Yeah, it's kind of like anybody talking about shilling and stuff like that. You're sort of like,
it's like, dude, you have a company go out and create an index token for you and you are not involved in the strategy at all? What the fuck? That's like me saying, hey, Joe, let's create this We're Forked club and I'm going to get Zachary to run it for us. He can just pick it all. You guys throw us your money. It's like, what?
Yeah. We'll have Zachary pay us to let him do it.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's some of this stuff just makes. I was at this conference once. It was actually, a Drupal conference, and content management
systems. Drupal. I wonder if that's still around. Yeah,
I think so, because the guys I was advising are still around, and after they fucked up the deal, that was another one of my retirement deals that went sideways. Yeah.
I think we've had about 30 of those each.
Yeah, exactly. But I walked in. There was all these people. Whoever the lead developer was, I can't remember his name, because there's also a company called Aptium or something like that. That's like kind of the big Drupal shop. Aptium. Kind of like the Red Hat, but for Drupal. Well, whatever. But I walk in, and it's all these like software developer kids all lining up to get like autographs of this guy. And I'm like, I didn't hear about these guys until like a week ago. And there's a whole pack of people out here that are like lining up to get this guy's autograph.
Right.
And, back then it was, who was he competing against?
WordPress.
WordPress.
Yeah.
But WordPress was like the real kind of inferior product at that point.
And then
Drupal
WordPress just destroyed them.
Yeah, because
because it was easy to use.
Yeah,
right.
The distribution.
Drupal didn't figure out. Drupal was targeting developers, and they didn't realize that the entire small business market needed something that fucking humans could use. So
something in between brochure and SAP,
exactly.
General Electric platform.
And the sad thing is Drupal had a shitload of potential. Like the power in that interface, if they could have trained people, was pretty powerful. You could create an application without writing code in Drupal to some extent, but they just didn't make it. I know they're still around, but they lost. WordPress just devastated them. So
I want to see what happened to my guys.
So Wonderland DAO. So the promise of Wonderland from again, Danielle, I've said that name, I don't know, 12 times today.
God, do you think he's in more than one project? It sounds like
he might have a couple of projects.
Smart guy.
Yeah. So Wonderland Time, which is the Ohm fork by that group, promised that their model was going to become an investment group, right? So essentially investing in other projects. And they announced, which is exciting to me and is exciting to be staking there, that they're actually fulfilling what they said they were going to do, which is the DAO itself is actually making decisions on projects in which to invest. The first one is something called BetSwap. So it sounds like it's some kind of a cross between a DEX and a betting site. I haven't looked at this at all. It just came up on my radar just before we started the show. But it says it's a betting exchange. But, smart people over there, I'm assuming, in the DAO. So I'm excited to see that they're actually doing what they said they were going to do. I don't know if it's all sports betting. It looks like it might be, esports, sports betting. Looks like a bit of everything. Decentralized betting platform. Be a better or a bookmaker. Anyway, interface looks nice. And it's just really good to see a different model. Now, Olympus DAO is also doing investments and are taking part in a lot of different sub-DAOs to them in kind of a different way. But, at the end of the day, they're buying it. They have they're disclosing how much they invested. They disclose what they're getting, how long the tokens are locked up, et cetera, et cetera. But they put in $18.337 million into that project. That's a sizable fucking investment for a seed or a private round. That's like huge. Maybe they just own the project. I don't know.
Yeah, they have a pretty good chunk of money over there.
That's a big fucking allocation though right now. That's like gigantic.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be the core part of their story 2.0.
Yeah,
so to speak,
maybe.
like what we're doing. But I was thinking when I read articles, there's something similar to this. Again, I saw some people talking about the DAOs to invest in DAOs. And, I started thinking that there's a lot of really, if you look at like SAP kind of vertical market orientation and think about where DAOs and decentralized organizations really work best. I mean, the easy ones are obviously, some kind of a vertical market or horizontal market focus on a need. But, there's so many other ways to think about it too. When you think about like, say, business infrastructure in this country, we talked a little bit earlier about the example of inventory carrying cost.
Right.
And, and when I was looking at financial statements when I was in grad school, every company had this inventory carrying cost on it. Dude, it was like 8 to 14% in a lot of these companies.
Right.
And, like I said, that's kind of gone. And so, you look for areas where you can increase those efficiencies or maximize those profit efficiencies. And it seems to me like the way that, a lot of corporate structure doesn't really work anymore because it's too easy to, not cheat might not be the right word, but it's too easy to sort of hide what you're doing in a way.
Right.
Where in a lot of these, DAO type structures, you could, maybe there's, it's some combination between like a Walmart model and a franchise model on infrastructure.
Right.
So, you don't have these problems. Like if you look at American society, and you look at the counties that were the most say, economic populist focused on either side of the aisle, what you found is that they were usually counties where the Walmart had closed. Okay, so what had already happened, the Walmart had already come in and destroyed the 400 businesses that were there on Main Street, small town America, 30 years ago. They already killed all those off because, just the same way like Ace Hardware and those kind of like franchises came in. Well, Walmart killed all those small businesses off. Then they put the store up and then they shut the store down because there's no customers. Well, that's also the same counties that had the highest opioid addiction rates.
Yep.
The highest amounts of middle-aged white suicides. So, these are pretty much counties that have sort of hit the shitter at that point. The Walmart came in and then the Walmart told you to fuck off.
Right.
And so what I'm getting at is
now they grocery shop at Dollar Tree.
Yeah. And, eating Captain Wafer's crackers or whatever with, some kind of cheese whiz in there. But, which, tastes pretty good. but the point is, the stuff that tastes the best isn't always the best for us. But my point was that all of these big national big box store models are all sort of based on
Joe, wait.
What?
You just you just portrayed poor white Midwest people eating cheese whiz and crackers. I'll never get that picture out of my head.
It's sort of like that scene in the movie Deliverance when the dueling banjos are getting ready to go. And instead, it's Captain Wafers and cheese. You gotta give me.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
My point.
Please don't cancel us. Cancel Joe.
My point was. Now everybody knows I love everybody. My point is that if you have those like that type of infrastructure where you could have like little entrepreneurial stores, like the card store or the 7-Eleven type store or whatever, but then not have all the infrastructure. We try to do it like the payroll management shops, the QuickBooks, those were also stores in that same little shithole town at one point.
Yep.
That got knocked out, for those types of things. But, it seems to me that all this redundant infrastructure that we've done away with, you don't want to undo it all because otherwise you're in that county where there's no Walmart anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody's gone. So I think DAOs, there's going to be some way where they can play in that. So,
well, look, at the end of the day, it takes what we just did with COVID with remote and everybody's like, fuck this shit. I don't want to go to the office. Right. It makes all of those places viable. Right. Because I tell you what, come to Miami and try to fucking buy a house or rent something. First of all, the house gets listed and about 30 seconds after it's listed, there's 10 cash offers from rich people in Brazil. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like you can't get it. And you want to rent a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,400 square foot ranch anywhere close to the city of Miami, $6,000-$7,000 a month. Right. Like but I don't have to be here. Right. And the crazy thing is if I want to be on the beach, just drive up the coast of Florida and there are towns dying just like the ones you're talking about. Yeah. Right. That would welcome us with open arms. And I can have the beach, I can have cheaper cost of living, and I don't have to be here. Now, I happen to like it here, but you get the idea.
Well, you'll be back in South Georgia.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not from fucking South Georgia, though. That's just where my parents live now.
I'm just teasing you.
And they hate cheese whiz.
How about goat cheese? They like goat cheese?
Of course they love goat cheese and avocado on their toast.
I get it. So there's those fancy pants South Georgia liberals hanging out there, liberal elites eating brie and goat cheese over cheese.
Oh my God. I would love for you to meet my parents because they are so far from that, but that's hilarious. That's funny as shit. It's so funny. I'm going to send them a clip. Yeah. Anyway, the point is that's what DAOs are enabling, right? DAOs break down the bullshit. It's like I posted yesterday, I had a recruiter reach out to me the other day. And he's like, I got this great crypto company, it's through fucking LinkedIn. I got this great crypto company. They've got their own wallet, proprietary wallet. And I'm like, does it work with DeFi? And he goes, well, no, they have a interface to that. And I'm like, why the fuck would I go work with a dead end company like that? Why? First of all, I don't take jobs. But second of all, why would anyone take a job with a company like that? It's like to me, that sounds so excruciating and fucking boring. I can't even fathom it. Not just the job part, the fact that that's what that company's doing. Right now, look, I get it. There's a market for that. And there's potential there. But the bottom line is DAOs are enabling the fracturing of corporate structure and work. Corporations are not going to go away forever, but it's going to fundamentally transform how human beings work, get paid, how they negotiate, how they get paid. And the same thing is going to happen because people like me and you are going to look at this and go, why would I form another fucking LLC? Why don't I just get a group of people that are like-minded together and work on this project that may be a short time frame project, or work on a DAO where everyone gets enriched? I mean, you and I, even before DeFi, we're talking about how to build companies that actually everyone had a stake in and had a piece of, right? And that's what this makes. That's what this makes. And it's without the bullshit and the other stuff. There are plenty of problems with it. It's harder to manage. You got to really figure out the voting mechanisms. You've got to really figure out roles. That's what SushiSwap's going through right now, is restructuring that entire DAO. But it's doable. And to me, it's 100 times superior.
Yeah, I think that, our society, I would go a little bit further on that, in the sense, I was just thinking about this yesterday, I think, or somewhere, but I was thinking about how we organize society and how people are organized. So, we gave the county example of the Walmart closing, but you think about, how does society get there in the first place? And it's because, the railroad company decided to put a railroad stop there,
right?
Or somebody built a ferry crossing there on the river.
Yep.
So it was some like commerce junction, going on at that point. Well, when you're stuck in these physical structures, the pivots are harder to execute, obviously, because you are in a fixed structure. And it's the same with sort of infrastructure, paperwork type infrastructure, licenses, and other relationships. You need to be able to, banking relationships, let's say, you need to be able to pivot those faster. If there's another way to like generate higher return on assets, then you go do it. Yep. But we're used to the bank being the one who tells us what those opportunities are, that sells us those opportunities. Yep. And now we're just kind of doing this ultimate disintermediation, disruption of the whole middleman concept of whatever's left of it.
Yep.
So that the enterprises and the ideas and stuff will just coalesce and form around like-minded people and resource clusters to get stuff done. And it just goes faster. I mean, it's the next lot. I mean, if you look at what, think about like the feudal society where there was the castle and then everybody was out there growing the food. And the compact was that, hey, when the barbarians came, you could come hang in the castle and we'll protect you. Oh, yeah, but first you got to run out there and try to kill a few of them. And so then, I was down at Monaco last weekend, so I need to tax everybody real quick here. So it was all that stuff. And then it became entrepreneurial and people move out and settle and do this and that. Well, everything's settled, everyone. There is no like more frontier in a physical sense. It's all in an abstract sense.
Yep.
So the structures have to change too. And that's why, decentralization actually fits where we develop next as cultures and societies, because it's more inward looking versus, expansion in a physical sense. It's an expansion in a idea sense, I guess.
Yeah. I listened to Ben Mesrich's book, The Antisocial Network, which is it's the accounting of what happened with GameStop. And it is like a perfect example of everything that's wrong with the current middleman system as it relates to the stock market. And I'm listening to him write about, I was listening to the audiobook. I'm listening to them talk about what happens on every stock purchase and the people involved and the hands that have to touch it and the regulatory bullshit and blah, 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 blah. It is like the perfect example of what's happening over here in DeFi and what's happening in the old ways and what's going to get devastated. And what's going to get devastated is the shit that's happening in this book. Highly recommend it. Really good read. But it was like, I'm listening to this. I'm thinking, why the fuck has this infrastructure been built? Well, I get it. Regulatory, years of people gaming the system, rent taking, whatever. But really powerful look at that relative to how it looks in DeFi. And it's pretty amazing. So anyway, good book.
Yeah, no, those are things we talk about that a lot. That when you push to the edges, I mean, just think about like when we were kids, the bookies like taking numbers or betting on sports games and all that. That was something that happened at like the pool hall down the street, or something like that. It was like it was frowned upon, and now it's friggin' everywhere.
Yep, exactly.
Think about like
the state took it over.
Porn. It was like a few strip bars maybe, but now, I mean, well, it's all over the internet, of course, but think about like reality TV shows, influencers, all of that. It's all very, physically oriented and materially oriented. So I think to me, it's that so many of these things have evolved in ways that I don't think we expected them to evolve.
Yeah.
And now you might see the correction in that, which could be pretty intriguing.
One of our listeners, Atlantic Fly Fisher, tweeted at me today. He said, side note, not sure if you've explored it, but a topic, how DeFi could disrupt and kneecap credit scores in the big three companies that lock key scoring. That's a market that I think he's absolutely right, could be severely disrupted by kind of this new economy and this new financial system, right? Do you really, if you have a history on the blockchain of someone's financial transactions and they're willing to share that with someone who's deciding whether they get credit for something or not, that's one way. But the other way is all the new financial models, the Alchemixes of the world, the lending protocols, right? As people stack things and stack NFTs and stack tokens, do we even need a credit score anymore? Do we even need these companies that are the gatekeepers to people actually growing their wealth or having the home that they want or whatever? So I think that was interesting too.
Yeah, but you also have to think about, what do people lend money for? It's, not a benevolent reason.
Of course.
It's, there's a whole variety of loan to own schemes and different things that I think when we're in this static, physically functional society that, you have, like, if you grow up in the neighborhood, you have relatives there. So you can't like run away from a gambling debt, let's say, right. Or drug debt or whatever, whatever goes on in disadvantaged communities. And so now you have situations like, just think of Celsius or Aave or any of it, where, your parking money you have and borrowing against it very, very quickly with no score, no ID, no nothing. I mean, you have to have the money, of course, to get it. Right. Most of the other situations are people that are so disadvantaged that they'll take anything.
Of course.
And, that's where you get into all the predatory stuff. So I find that kind of intriguing too, how that shakes out. Because if that debt and lending were only there for to sort of imprison people economically, but there was a way to do debt and lending where it, I guess, was more advantageous to some middle structure, let's say, that then seeded losses in other areas around debt, then it seems to me like you could create debt structures that are more benevolent to both sides of the transaction, and not like a loan to own I don't know if you're familiar with all of that from the housing back in the day, where people would come in, they would give a high interest loan to like an elderly couple that clearly had no income,
right?
And so they'd get them that money at usually a low rate, And then at the end of a couple of months, they had to move out because they couldn't pay. They got foreclosed on.
So they took the house.
Yeah. So a lot of loaning is that.
Of course. Much of it is predatory.
Yeah. It's asset extraction. So, but the thing is that you need capital to expand businesses. So I think there's a solution in here amongst the models that exist now and what it turns into later.
Yep.
Because if you don't have all the Bitcoin, you can't go leverage the benefits of the Alchemix system, let's say.
No, but then the model becomes the ones of the advance on income, right? Like when you can connect your past credit card transaction history, what you've been receiving from credit card processing, and we start migrating more to crypto payments coming in. Now you could see someone could create a vehicle to place that data on the blockchain tied to your business wallet, right? Look, we already have people giving cash advances to businesses at predatory lending rates, right? They're already fucking over small businesses in the thousands every year in the United States and around the world. But what if you built this model in an automated fashion that allowed you to say, this is verified credit card transaction data, this is verified income from crypto, this is what this business has and has been getting for the last 3 years. They need cash to do whatever they want to do, marketing, equipment, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're willing to disclose that record to these people, just like businesses are right now in the market. Well, if you can have verified data from credit card and verified data from crypto, then that same model will work. And now instead of charging these businesses 38% interest, which is what they're doing because they don't call it a loan, they call it an advance, you could charge them reasonable rates and have the business grow. Or you could have DAOs, businesses that become DAOs, right? And now the participants in the lending mechanism or advance mechanism actually get to own part of the DAO because they buy a token. I mean, there's all kinds of models that can come out of this that can get rid of the shit that's been harming us. So, I think there's a lot of potential. Anyway,
well, we got to go. One quick question. So, when you look at just advance that thought for one wee bit further, and you talk about Sharia law and, you can't charge interest. So I'm not that familiar with debt markets in general, but, I'm wondering, how do those models work? I mean, what does the lender get in the Sharia law contract?
I don't know about the Sharia law contracts. I don't know how they work. Maybe they get some equity, some ownership. I've never had any involvement whatsoever with kind of Sharia approved lending. I don't know how that works. Well, maybe it's just all very community based. Right? Maybe it's a cooperative of sorts where other businesses in the community get together and lend to other businesses to help them grow without charging interest. I don't know.
Yeah, that's got to be the play. It's got to be the co-op. I mean, they do have the halal networks for moving money around. But I'm just wondering, and they charge a fee for that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a wire without the wire.
Maybe it's a flat fee instead of interest, right?
But I was thinking,
maybe you pay, maybe Sharia law allows for a lender to charge, X thousands of dollars per year. And so they will lend only $100,000 or more, right? And so that's how you get the loan, but there's no interest rate tied to it. It's just, the flat fee, no matter what you borrow. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's got to be a model in between the two, in between predatory lending and no interest lending.
Yeah,
that fits in this DAO model, and we should continue to explore that. But
yeah, let's definitely do that. I think this advanced model is very powerful. I've seen it in action in the credit card processing field. I've seen what happens and how they charge for this stuff. And the math works on behalf of the lender, obviously, the advancer, obviously. But there's a model that works that you build a relationship with a business, you help them grow with the money that you're giving them, and then you benefit from that business growing, right? And DAOs and DeFi can do that beautifully. So,
yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of ways to think about this, because to me, you want your customers that you lend to get bigger and bigger so they can borrow more and more and more.
Yeah.
Because, if you're a bank, that is your business, is to lend money.
Yeah.
There's no other business there but lending money.
Yeah.
And so, but they're their banks because they're not gashing you dry, bleeding you out in 2 weeks. They're not predatory.
Well, it's in their best interest for you to survive and be a bank customer. So yeah, definitely.
So there's got to be some ways there that trim that margin, but give all the benefits to everyone else.
Yeah, well, and you cut out all the bullshit in between, and you've got more margin to distribute.
Yep. All right, man.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. As always, we love you. If you have ideas for topics, if you want to get in on We're Forked Club, if you want to just chat, DM me B05 Crypto on Telegram and Twitter. That's B05 Crypto on Twitter and Telegram. B05 Crypto #2143. B05 Crypto #2143. Send me a message. We'd happy to add you to our Discord server where we're starting to having some discussions on topics like we talk about on the show. We also have private channels for those that want to be in the We're Forked Investment Club. And please, if you can, retweet, share a link to the show, let your friends know about us. We love greeting more people into this community. And thank you so much for everything you guys have already provided to us. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And thank you, everyone. And this is Friday, right? So
it is, and I didn't realize it till like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. So anyway, have a good weekend, everyone.
You too. Yeah. Good weekend, all. Take care,
all right,
Joe.
I'll call you later on today. All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.